We've all been told forever that if you're thin, you're healthy. But what if that number you see on the scale is actually, well, kind of lying to you? What if you could look perfectly healthy on the outside, but be at risk on the inside? That's exactly the hidden story we're going to dig into today.
So let's just get right to it. This is the big question. A lot of us rely on our body mass index, the BMI, as the go-to health check. But is it really possible to have a normal BMI and still not be as healthy as you think? Well, let me tell you, the answer might just surprise you.
Okay, so this is absolutely key. We have to understand the difference between these two things. Your weight, that's just a single number. It doesn't tell you much. But body composition, that tells us what that weight is actually made of. We're talking about the all-important ratio of fat to muscle, and that, right there, is where the real story of your health begins.
Yeah, we all think this, right? That a thin body automatically equals a healthy body. But it turns out, that's a huge misconception. People can have a BMI that lands smack in the middle of the normal range, but still be carrying a high percentage of body fat, and, this is the kicker, not nearly enough muscle. And that combo puts them at risk for things you would never expect.
So that brings us to the main event. What exactly is skinny fat? Let's break down this term and see what it actually means from a medical point of view.
So, what is skinny fat? Now, it's not a formal medical term you'll hear from your doctor, but it perfectly describes this situation. Having a normal weight on the BMI chart, but internally carrying a higher than healthy amount of body fat and not enough muscle to support your frame.
But in the medical world, this condition absolutely has a name. It's called metabolic obesity, normal weight, or MON for short. And yes, it's a recognized condition where someone's weight is normal, but their metabolic profile, how their body processes energy, looks a lot like someone who has obesity. And that, of course, raises the risk for some serious diseases.
So what does this actually look like? Well, it's not just about appearance. We're talking about feeling weaker, having less muscle tone, a high overall body fat percentage, and, importantly, a lot of visceral fat. That's the really dangerous stuff that's stored deep inside your belly around your organs. And all of this is happening while the scale is telling you you're in the normal range.
Okay, so why do we care? Why does any of this matter? Because the health risks that come with this are very real, very serious, and often completely invisible from the outside.
MONW is basically defined by these 5 major metabolic risk factors. Think of them like warning lights on your body's dashboard. High blood pressure, high blood sugar, that extra fat around the waist we just talked about, high triglycerides in your blood, and low levels of HDL, which is your good cholesterol.
And having that metabolic profile is no small thing. It directly ramps up your risk of developing some of the biggest health problems out there today: type 2 diabetes, stroke, and heart disease. These are major conditions that could be hiding behind what looks like a perfectly healthy body weight.
Now, this is a pretty sobering statistic. For older adults, especially those over 65, having this condition is linked to a higher risk of what's called all-cause mortality. That's a clinical way of saying death from any cause. It just really highlights how serious this can be as we get older.
And the risks aren't just physical. Get this, there's also a potential link between this specific body composition, high fat and low muscle, and cognitive decline. It's just a powerful reminder that our physical health and our brain health are completely intertwined.
Okay, so we know what it is, and we know why it's a risk. But how does someone end up like this in the first place? Let's unpack the causes.
Well, it's almost never just one thing. It's more like a complex mix of factors all working together. Of course, your diet and how much you exercise play a massive role. But so do things like age, your sex, hormone levels, and even your genetics. Everybody's a little different, and some people are just more predisposed to this.
Let's just zoom in on diet for a second, specifically sugar. It's a pretty simple process. You eat something sugary, your blood sugar goes up, and your body pumps out insulin to deal with it. But any extra calories that your body can't use right away get tucked away and stored as body fat. And if this happens over and over, it can lead to bigger problems like insulin resistance. Age and hormones are also huge players here. For women, during menopause, for example, estrogen levels drop, and that can cause an increase in that dangerous visceral fat. And as all of us get older, we face the risk of sarcopenia, which is just the fancy term for age-related muscle loss, which makes it way harder to keep that healthy muscle-to-fat ratio.
All right, we've laid out the problem, we've looked at the causes, now for the most important part. What can we do about it? Let's talk solutions. Let's build your body composition toolkit.
The best news is that the fixes are all built on simple but powerful lifestyle habits. We're talking about the basics: getting enough sleep, trying to manage stress, eating a balanced diet. And on the flip side, it's about steering clear of things like crash diets, which can actually make things worse, and cutting back on things like excessive alcohol and ultra-processed foods.
Of course, exercise is absolutely fundamental. The official guidelines basically recommend a 1-2 punch. First, you need aerobic exercise, at least 150 to 300 minutes a week of moderate activity. Second, and just as important, is strength training. You've got to work all your major muscle groups at least twice a week. That's how you build and hang on to that crucial muscle mass.
And moderate aerobic exercise doesn't mean you have to live at the gym. It can be going for a brisk walk, hopping on a bike, dancing around your living room, or going for a hike. The real key is to find something you actually like to do, so you'll stick with it.
On the food front, the game plan is pretty clear. You want to minimize those added sugars and simple carbs. Make protein a priority. It's what builds muscle. Ditch the sugary drinks and the ultra-processed junk. Oh, and here's a pro tip. Try to eat a high-protein snack or meal right after you work out. It really helps your muscles recover and grow.
And this really is the most important thing to remember. This is not about a quick fix. It's not about some crazy crash diet. It's about slowly but surely building consistent, sustainable habits that are going to improve your body composition and your health for the long haul.
So if you take one thing away from all of this, let it be this. Your true health is so much more than a number on a scale. It's really about what your body is made of, that vital, delicate balance between muscle and fat.
And that leaves us with one last question, and this one's for you to think about. If we know for a fact that the scale doesn't tell the whole story, then how are you going to measure your health? Is it going to be your energy level, how strong you feel, how well you sleep? It's definitely something to think about on your own health journey.